Hi guys, Dr. Erica here. I am super excited about today's topic. It's a 4-step approach to solve any problem. And we all know that we have circumstances or problems that arise, and this is one of my favorite things to share. I share it with clients, I share it with friends. I pretty much share it with anyone that will listen because it is ultimately life-changing. It's something that I use every day and that I'm super excited to share with you today. So this approach is derived from expert life coach Brooke Castillo, who shares it with many people, and she herself has taken different approaches and condensed it down to this 4 steps that I'm going to be sharing with you today. So she has relied on the work of Abraham Hicks, as well as Byron Katie, Eckhart Tolle, as well as others. So I'm going to condense it down to these 4 simple steps. And I'm going to challenge you that if you have a problem arise, that you test this out. And I'm going to give you an acronym to remember, and I'll walk you through some examples. So next time you have a problem come up, I encourage you to use these 4 steps so that you'll see how it'll completely transform any problem that you have. I've used it to improve my marriage, my career. Anytime something comes up, this is my go-to because I know it will change the problem and enable me to see it in a completely different way. So let me give you an example so that you understand what I mean. I'm going to show you 2 scenarios using the 4-step approach, and hopefully that'll just increase your awareness so that you can see how it'll really transform the way that you look and think about and relate to your problems, because ultimately a problem is usually neutral, and I'll explain what I mean by that, but it's actually our thoughts about the problem that create a lot of distress and can create a lot of pain. So I'm going to show you how you can modify and really kind of start paying attention to those thoughts so that you can look at the problem in a new light. All right, so let's go on to that example. So let's say, it's morning time and I'm waking up and my husband tells me I look beautiful. So that's a fact. I could, if somebody else was in the room, they might be able to hear that he said I looked beautiful. Now, you may not necessarily think that's a problem, but let me show you how I could turn that into a problem with my thoughts. So scenario 1. And before I walk you through the scenario, I want to give you an acronym. So just remember CT, FAR. So CT and then FAR, because I want you to think about how far you'll get in this new way of thinking. So the circumstance, going back to my example, is that my husband said I look beautiful. And so my thought, my first scenario, remember C, the circumstances that he told me, C is now my thought might be, wow, that was so kind, all these thoughts, these positive thoughts start generating. And then it goes to my third acronym, F, that's going to produce some kind of feeling in me. It might lead me to feel really excited, feel good about myself. And then an action, so remember our acronym CT FAR. So it's circumstance, thought, F for feeling, A for action, and R for result. So my action might be that I then in turn do something loving for my husband. And the result is that's going to create the scenario of having a more uplifted, positive, good relationship, okay? So that's the first scenario. Now let's say that the night before my husband and I had an argument and he woke up saying the same thing. So the circumstance again is what he said, you look beautiful. Now watch this. My thought is going to go to a completely different place. My thought might be like, oh, why is he saying that? Maybe like create feelings of suspicion or wonder why he would all of a sudden, be kind if he wasn't like that the night before. So my action might be that I create some distance, and the result is that we're going to now have more probably of a strain that day. So I hope you see from that example that the same circumstance could either create a problem or it may not. Let me give you another example so this kind of cements a little bit more. So I'm going to use an example of somebody named Laura. So Laura goes in to see her doctor for her yearly exam, and she realizes that she's gained 10 pounds. So again, that's a fact. That's our circumstance. Remember our acronym CT FAR. So I'm going to give you 2 scenarios again. Let's say her first scenario, her thought is like, oh gosh, I'm a mess. I just haven't been able to get my health together. You can kind of start seeing how her mind might start spinning into all these negative thoughts. Now, going back to the second part of our acronym FAR, that feeling might be that she starts feeling defeated, she feels overwhelmed, she feels, maybe shameful and bad about herself. And remember, our feelings always lead to our actions. So that action that she might take from those feelings of feeling, disappointed and shameful might be that she goes and grabs a tub of ice cream and just says forget it, this is kind of pointless. And the result might be that a year later, she gains an additional 10 pounds. Now let's go back to that initial circumstance. The doctors just told Laura that she's gained 10 pounds. So let's see how her thoughts could change that would lead her to a different result. If her thought was, you know what, I'm a smart woman, this is no big deal, I will figure this out, you could see how that's initially going to just lead to a completely different feeling. She's going to feel hopeful and maybe excited that she's going to start generating new ideas to get healthy again. Her action might be that she puts in something into place where she goes on a walk, 3 times a week during her lunch, and that she starts being more mindful and in tune with what she's eating. Maybe she starts looking up, articles about intuitive eating or better food choices or better exercises. Well, ultimately, she's going to get a different result. So 3 months later, Laura has now lost 12 pounds. Fast forward to 5 years later, she's maintained that weight off and she's a lot healthier and feeling a lot better. So I hope those examples can kind of show you these different paths that, based on the same circumstance, can very much derail us and take us down completely different avenues. One, is going to be one that uplifts us and allows us to get on a trajectory of uplifting those problems. And the other one is going to kind of derail us and take us further down. So now I challenge you to use this acronym CT-FAR anytime you have a problem arise. So again, going back to the 4-step approach, the circumstance is neutral. The circumstance is a fact. A thought is what you think about that fact. So I would encourage you to do this anytime you have a problem come up. Sometimes I have clients do it first thing in the morning just to get whatever is on their mind down on paper, and for them to be able to look at that and see, are you thinking about that how you want to be thinking about it? Is it producing the feelings that you want it to produce? For example, let's say you're in debt. That's a fact. You might be able to go look at your credit card statements and see that. But the way that you think about that debt is very much going to get you different results. So I would encourage you to think about the results that you want and kind of work backwards, and that's going to allow you to shape your thoughts and see things in a different light. So I hope that helps, and I hope that that offers you some possibility to see your problems in a different perspective. Okay, now it's your turn. Next time you have a problem come up, remember CT-FAR. I promise you, if you just take 5 minutes to write this down on a piece of paper, objectively write what the circumstance was, and see what your thoughts are around it. If you're seeing that your thoughts are going to lead you to a result that you don't want, guess what? You have the complete power to change the outcome. And that's what I love about this approach, because it gives you back the control to create a completely different outcome just by you taking a couple minutes to look at your thoughts, see how those thoughts are going to generate different feelings, which are going to cause you to take a different action, which is ultimately going to get you a different result. So pause and kind of create those two paths. Do I want to follow this negative way of thinking that's going to lead me to this action? Or do I want to change my thoughts about this? Because remember, the circumstance is neutral. You have the opportunity to think your thought about it, which is going to completely take you down a different road. So I would encourage you to pause, write that down, and take the higher road every time, so that you know that you have the capability and the power to always solve any problem that arises. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm excited to see you on the next video. Take care.